Welcome back. I'm Joseph Hoffman, and in this lesson, I'd like to guide you through some steps for creating your very own original composition. That's right, today you are the composer. To help with this composition project, I've prepared a worksheet for you to complete, which, as always, you can download from our website. Go ahead and pause the video now to download and print this worksheet so you can fill it out as you go through this lesson. All right, let's start with step one for your composition project, which is to choose a mood or emotion for your piece. Today, I'll guide you through creating a piece in the form ABA, with that last A having a coda. So you'll want to choose a mood or emotion for your A section, and then you'll want a different mood or emotion for your B section. Now, they don't have to be total opposites. In fact, they can be similar, or they could be contrasting. Anything is possible. Now, why am I having you start by choosing the mood? Well, when I compose, I find it's very important to know clearly the feeling I'm going for, because the mood affects every other compositional decision I make. So now at this point, pause the video and choose the mood or emotion for your A section and also for your B section. Now remember, don't stress about getting it perfect. You can always change your mind later. This is your composition. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and decide on the mood for your composition. Step two is to choose a tempo, key, and time signature for your composition. In choosing your tempo, try and choose something that will support the moods you chose for both sections up in step one. If we were going to compose a long piece, then we might think about having one tempo for our A section and a different tempo for our B section. However, for this composition project, since we're just going for a medium size or short size composition, I recommend choosing one tempo that will work for both your A section and your B section. Of course, you're the composer, so if you're really itching to throw in a tempo change in the middle of your piece, go for it. You and you alone have the final say on everything. When choosing a tempo, you can use one of the traditional Italian tempo indications that are frequently used in music, like largo, adagio, allegro, or presto. Or you can go with a more modern trend to use standard English words, or whatever your native language is, to describe the tempo. Like your tempo indication could be moderately fast, or your tempo indication could mention both speed and mood, like peacefully flowing, or fast with excitement. So now, pause the video and choose your tempo indication. Once again, remember, this doesn't have to be permanent. Just put something down to get started. You can always come back later to modify it. Go ahead and write down a tempo indication for your composition, then press play to go on. Next up in step two is choosing a key. How do you choose a key? Well, once again, you'll want to choose something that supports your mood. For example, if the mood you've chosen is joyful, most listeners would expect to hear a major key, like Ode to Joy, which is in D major. Imagine how it would sound in minor. Doesn't have much of a joyful feel, right? Now, if you want something suspenseful or mysterious, we would generally expect to hear a minor key, like the Mission Impossible theme, which is in G minor. But remember that there are many moods that could easily be either major or minor. Like if you've chosen exciting for your mood, you could easily create an exciting mood with major or minor. You can get exciting from either one. Now, if you want to keep things simple, choose one key for both your A section and your B section. But if you like, you could try changing keys in the B section. So you have one key for your A section and another key for your B section. If you want to change keys, I recommend that you choose a related key. Otherwise, the transition could sound awkward. For example, remember that C major and A minor are related, meaning they share the same key signature of 0 sharps or flats. So if you wanted to start in A minor, maybe in the B section you shift to C major. Or you could do something like what happens in Bergmüller's Ballade and start in C minor, and then in the B section, switch to C major. C minor and C major are not relatives because they have different key signatures. C minor has 3 flats and C major has 0 flats, but they are parallel keys, which simply means that they start on the same do or the same tonic pitch. So you can either do relative, you can do parallel, but choose a key that has some relationship to each other. Now, it's time to pause the video and choose a key or keys for your composition. Finally, to finish up step 2, it's time to choose a time signature. Again, you'll want to choose something that supports the mood you've chosen. You've probably noticed in your study of music that 4/4 is by far the most common time signature. 4/4 certainly can support a wide variety of moods. If you want to keep it simple, you're always safe with good old 4/4. But if you want to try something else, here are some other time signature options to consider. Remember, the top number tells you how many beats per measure. The bottom number tells you what kind of note equals 1 beat. Most commonly, you'll find a 4 on the bottom to tell you that 1/4 note equals 1 beat. But you can also find an 8 on the bottom to tell you that 1/8 note equals 1 beat. Now, go ahead and pause the video and choose your time signature. Step 3. Now the fun really begins. It's time to compose your first draft. A composer begins with a blank piece of staff paper like this. A whole world of possibilities are open to you with this blank piece of paper. So let's set up our grand staff. And please try this yourself on your own blank staff paper at home. So first we want to connect the 2 staves that we'll use for right hand and left hand. In music, when you see a line between 2 staves, that's saying that these are going to play at the same time. And in piano, we traditionally add this kind of fancy curly brace. This curvy line is called a brace, which again says here's our right hand part, here's our left hand part, but we play them together. So try that on your own staff paper. And then we'll add our clefs. I'm going to do a treble clef and a bass clef. But remember, it is possible to have 2 treble clefs or 2 bass clefs. Generally, we have one hand playing in the treble clef, one in the bass clef. But if you want the whole piece to be up high on your piano, you may choose to do 2 treble clefs. Totally up to you. And you can always change it later. So again, don't feel tied to anything. Just put something down to get started. It's better than having that blank page. Now we're going to add all the choices that you made earlier. Let's write your tempo indication up here where it belongs. Like, let's say my piece, I've decided on peaceful and slow. And let's say I've decided that I want this to be in the key of F major. So I'll need to add my 1 flat for my key signature on the B line. And then let's say I've decided on a time signature of 6/8. So I add my time signature. And now I'm ready to start putting some notes down. So pause the video now And I'd like you to transfer to your staff paper all of these decisions that you've made about your composition. Again, use pencil because you're probably going to want to come back and change some things. But go ahead and get started. Put down your clefs, key signature, time signature, tempo indication, then press play to go on. Now that we have our staff paper set up, you're ready to start actually composing some notes. As you compose, I'd like you to keep in mind these 4 basic elements of a musical composition. And it's really possible to approach these in any order. But as you compose, you've got to address all 4 of these. You'll have to figure out your rhythm. You'll have to figure out the melody of your piece, which could be in your left hand or your right hand, or maybe it changes throughout the piece. Sometimes left, sometimes right. But you'll need a melody. Then you'll also need some harmony for your piece. Unless you plan on just having one hand playing by itself, you can have one hand doing the melody while the other hand is doing the chords. The chords are what build the harmony. The harmony basically are any notes that support the melody. And finally, you'll need to think about the form of your piece. We've already said that it's going to be an A-B-A form. But even within your A section, there's a smaller scale form that we'll want to talk about. But let's take each of these elements one at a time. And remember, different composers may choose to start with different elements. Like, one composer may like to start with rhythm. Let's say your piece is in 6/8, and you want to think of a rhythm for your melody. Like my piece, I decided to be peaceful and slow in 6/8. So I remember that in 6/8, we have groups of 3/8 notes, and it feels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I might think of a rhythm like ba, 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 ba. And maybe I'll write that rhythm down. So you can start with the rhythm before you come up with melody or harmony or even form. But maybe you want to base your piece on a melodic idea. So you want to start with the melody. So I chose to be in F major. So I might play the F major scale just to kind of get it in my mind. Maybe I'll play the arpeggio to kind of get that in my mind. And I might just mess around a little bit and try and just find what feels true to my mood by just playing around with different melodic ideas. So part of this is going to feel a lot like improvising. You're improvising, you're messing around, finding sounds that are true to the mood you want to create. And once you have an idea you like, write it down. Now, some composers like to start with the harmony. In other words, they're not going to come up with a rhythm, they're not going to come up with a melody first, they're going to choose a chord progression they really like. Since I've chosen F major, maybe I'll play through all of my diatonic chords once, just to kind of get those in my ear. Just kind of see what I have to choose from. Most pieces start with a 1 chord, so I'll start there. And then maybe I want to go to a 4 chord. I like that. Ooh, a 3 chord sounds fun there. To a 6 chord. Now I like that. So I'm going to stick with that. 1 chord, 4 chord, 6 chord, and then 3 chord. Sorry, 3 chord, then 6 chord. Right? Now, once I have that harmony, that chord progression, then I might try adding a melody to that. Okay, so you see how one of these elements can lead to another. You can do them in any order. Harmony first, melody first, rhythm first, but one at a time you've got to make these choices. Now let's take a look at form. Music, the best music, has a certain structure to it. There are patterns in music. And there are both big scale patterns, like we have a big A section, a big B section, and then that big A section. But within your A section, you'll find structure as well in what's called phrases. So maybe we could call this the phrase structure, but it's part of the form. For example, one way to structure a phrase, and by the way, remember that a phrase is just a music term for a group of notes that all belong together, kind of like a musical sentence. So one way to structure phrases is called parallel phrases, which means they start in a very similar way. Let's go back to Ode to Joy. Here's an example of parallel phrases. Listen to the first phrase of Ode to Joy. Do you hear how all those notes kind of fit together in one musical sentence, which is a phrase? Now, the second phrase begins the exact same way. But did you notice at the end there was a slight change? So, parallel doesn't mean exact repetition, but it means that they share very close similarities. You could call these two phrases also a question and answer phrase. Notice how the first phrase ended with da, da, da. Doesn't quite feel finished. Hear that question? And then there's the answer. That second phrase, which was parallel, gave the answer by having that more final sounding ending. To create a question and answer phrase, simply end the first phrase on a note other than do, or your tonic. And then to have a phrase sound like an answer, try and end on tonic. Okay, then a contrasting phrase could be something that doesn't sound anything like, or at least it's highly contrasting from your other phrase. For example, if we kept going in Ode to Joy, we'd get see, so that had some different notes, some different rhythms. So that would be a contrasting phrase. But then it goes back to this. So altogether, that Ode to Joy, that group of phrases we could call A prime, because it had that slightly different ending, B, and then another A prime. You put all that together, that could be one section of your piece. But these little lowercase letters represent these smaller phrases. So as you're composing, try to think in phrases. Think of how your notes group together and then make patterns of those groups. Have two phrases that maybe sound similar but slightly different. Then throw in a contrasting phrase, then maybe go back to your original A phrase. So I suggest that now you choose whether to start with deciding your rhythm, deciding your melody, deciding your harmony, or choosing your phrase structure or form. Just start there and get started with composing your piece. Press pause and, just see if you can come up with a measure or two on at least one or two of these 4 elements. And again, you're going to bounce between working on your melody, you're working on your rhythm, working on your harmony, or maybe you're working on 2 or 3 of the elements at the same time. But choose somewhere to start and see what you come up with. Remember that composing is very similar to improvising. I want you to improvise and try out different things. And then when you find something you like, that's when you write it down. One thing that some composers do is just turn on a tape recorder, make an audio recording of your improvising. And then when you capture something you like, you can go back and listen to it and then take the time to write it down. Because sometimes I'll be messing around and I may come up with an idea I like, but then I'll forget it. So sometimes having a recording playing may be helpful to you. I want to give you a few quick tips for notating by hand. Sometimes I see students take forever to make the perfect note head, and then they're going to take all this time to fill in every note head. Well, that could really slow down your composing. Sometimes I have an idea that I want to be able to jot down quickly. So here's kind of a quick and effortless way to get notes down. Sometimes I'll just do a little slash to represent the note head. I can put that slash through the line, or I can put that slash on a space. So if I wanted to write these 3 notes stepping down, mi, re, do, do. Sometimes I won't even bother to add stems. I just want to quickly catch the idea I have in my mind. So just that little slash is one way to do it, and then I can add the stems later. I can add rhythm like that, and then, on my final draft, I can fill in those note heads more perfectly. Step 4 is revise. This is a really important step in any creative work. If you're an author, once you've written out your story, you want to go back, read it, and make some improvements. See how it all flows together. So during step 4, you're just going to take your piece and go back, try playing it, see what you like, see what you don't like, and make any improvements that you want to make. Step 5 is to prepare a final draft and give it a title. If you're like me, by the time you get done revising, there may be scribbles and there may be arrows saying go here and then go there. Like, look at this example of a piece that I composed. This is one of my early drafts. You can see how many changes I was making along the way. So in this step, you want to take everything you've decided on and make it look nice and neat. You can either do it by hand, or there are many software programs like the one I use called Finale, which allow you to enter it on your computer and print nice professional looking music. Step 6, go through and add in dynamic markings, articulations like staccatos, slur marks, any kind of instructions to tell the performer how to play it. And finally, step 7, share it. Share your original composition with a friend or share it with me online. Congratulations on beginning your composition project today. There's still a lot of work ahead. So on your own, I hope you'll keep at it, go through all these steps, and see this project through to the end. Have fun exploring sounds that you like. Be willing to take risks and experiment. Try different things out. Choose what you like and put it down on paper. Remember, this composition doesn't need to be long or complicated. Feel free to keep things simple. And don't forget to share your composition with a friend. I'd also love to see a video of you performing your composition too. So please share it with me online once you're ready. Thanks as always for watching and learning with me, and happy composing! Did you know composing is just like making a banana split? Huh? First, we need a banana. I can help with that. Choosing your banana is like choosing what kind of instrument you want to compose for. Like piano or tuba. Okay, here you go. 1 banana. Nice. Next, we've got to choose some ice cream flavors. That could be like choosing the mood for our composition. Oh, how about chocolate, vanilla, then another chocolate? You got it. It's gonna be delicious. Oh, great! That's a nice ABA form for our banana split. Next, we need to choose the sauce. Oh, the sauce can be like choosing a tempo. Exactly. How about something slow, smooth, and creamy like caramel? Okay, here comes the caramel. Oh! Now, what about the toppings? Toppings can be like picking our key signatures. How about peanuts? Sounds great. Well, hey, looks like we're going to be composing in the key of peanut major. Good one, Mr. Hoffman. Wow, this banana split looks great. Don't forget the whipped cream and a cherry. Oh, I think that's the most delicious composition I've ever seen. I think it's ready. Okay, everyone, let's eat. Music to my mouth. Sweet harmony.